I'm continuing doing this series called My Final Five Takes. I've got a Colts edition and an NFL edition going. We have to start, of course, with the Colts edition. Now, I'm excited to see how Jonathan Taylor plays this year. He should be incredibly fresh after coming off of a career low in touches last year. He didn't play a ton because, he hurt his thumb and he had the contract negotiations at the start of the year that led to him not playing. And if you've listened to my show and you've heard me talk about Jonathan Taylor, you would know that I don't think as highly of Jonathan Taylor as a lot of Colts fans do. I think he's had one great year, and the other 3 years of his career, he's been good. Not great, just good. But that 1 year, 3 years ago, by the way, so it wasn't even that recent, that 1 year, 3 years ago was so incredible that it has inflated the way that everyone else views Jonathan Taylor. I think that this year we are going to get a similar performance from Jonathan Taylor as to what we saw 3 years ago. I really do. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to have a big year this year. And I think that a large part of that is because of who the Colts quarterback is. I think the Colts are going to lean on Jonathan Taylor early in the year while Anthony Richardson gets reacquainted to playing real NFL level football. I think that they want to bring Anthony Richardson on a little bit slowly. Okay, I don't think that we're going to hop into the first game of the year, and I don't think we're going to see Anthony Richardson, throw the ball 30 times on Sunday. I think ideally the Colts want Anthony Richardson to throw the ball anywhere from 20 to 25 times a game. Okay, that, on average, an NFL team runs about 60 plays a game. So that's, 35 plays that the Colts aren't throwing the football, hopefully. Okay, that's 35 plays where either, Jonathan Taylor can carry it or obviously Anthony Richardson. And I think that Jonathan Taylor is going to see a lot of action, especially early in the year while Anthony Richardson gets readjusted to playing real NFL regular season games. Okay, when we go back 3 years and we look at that incredible year that Jonathan Taylor had, he had 372 touches 3 years ago, where he had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage, right? So that's receiving yards and rushing yards. He was the best running back in the NFL that year. And a large part of it was just because he stayed healthy. When we look at the years following that, like last year, he missed a ton of time. The year before that, he got hurt and he missed, I believe it was, 4 or 5 games. If he stays healthy this year, then I think we will see a similar number of touches, that 370 mark that he had 3 years ago. If he stays healthy, Jonathan Taylor is going to finish the season with over 1,300 yards rushing. If he did that last year, that would have put him second in the NFL to Christian McCaffrey's 1,400 yards rushing. So I think he'll compete for the rushing yards title, right? I think that number ends up being somewhere around 1,300 rushing yards. And I think that he'll follow up with, obviously a couple hundred receiving yards. So I think he's going to finish the year with 1,300 rushing yards and over 1,500 scrimmage yards total. Okay, I am incredibly intrigued to see how Shane Steichen uses Jonathan Taylor because he didn't really get to use him last year. Jonathan Taylor was holding out, and when he wasn't holding out, he was hurt. So we haven't really even seen what Jonathan Taylor is going to look like in the Shane Steichen offense. And I am excited to get a taste of what that's going to look like as we get into this upcoming Colts season. Now, when I say that I think that Jonathan Taylor is going to have a big year and he's going to have 1,300 rushing yards and 1,500 total yards from scrimmage, I'm going to assume that you think that that means that he's going to score a bunch of touchdowns. This is where my take kind of goes a little haywire. As many yards as Jonathan Taylor is going to rack up this year, because he's going to get the ball a lot, I don't think that the touchdown number for Jonathan Taylor is going to be very high. Okay, 1,300 rushing yards, and I think he's only going to finish with somewhere around 8 touchdowns this year. He might get to 10. I would honestly be surprised if he got to 10 touchdowns on the year. Because where do running backs capitalize the most? Where do running backs have the most opportunity to run the ball into the end zone? In the red zone. Okay, 60-yard touchdown runs just don't happen very often in the NFL. Okay, and NFL teams talk about the importance of the running back position inside the 25, having, a bell cow you can turn around, hand it off to at the 2-yard line and trust that they're going to get in. I don't think that Jonathan Taylor is going to play that role this year for the Colts. In the red zone, I believe that the Indianapolis Colts are going to let Anthony Richardson be that bell cow. I believe that Anthony Richardson is going to be the quote-unquote goal line back. Okay, they're going to give the ball to Anthony Richardson inside the red zone, especially tight in the red zone, inside the 5-yard line, because talk to any coach about running the football. It's all about numbers. Okay, if you have a numbers advantage, you are more than likely going to be successful in your endeavor to run the football. And when you run the quarterback, you get an extra blocker. You do, right? Because we know if you hand it off to the running back, you're essentially playing 10 on 11 because, the quarterback's not going to run out and block. It's not going to happen. Okay, but if you let the quarterback run the ball, then your halfback, your running back, Jonathan Taylor, can then be the lead blocker, right? So it gives you just an extra blocker, which is really nice to have when, you're down on the 3-yard line and everyone's packed in tight. It's nice to have that extra blocker. So in the red zone, I think we're going to see Anthony Richardson get the bulk of those carries. Okay, that's part of why, if you drafted Jonathan Taylor on your fantasy team, I wouldn't have done it because touchdowns in fantasy football are worth 6 points, and I just don't think that Jonathan Taylor is going to be the touchdown guy for the Colts this year. I think it's going to be Anthony Richardson when they get in tight. But before the Colts get into the red zone, before the Colts get down, inside the 5-yard line, we're going to see a lot of Jonathan Taylor, whether that's screen passes or turning around and handing him the football. I think we're going to see a lot of him. I think he's going to have a good year this year. I'm excited to see him. Hopefully he can stay healthy, right? That's always the concern with a guy like Jonathan Taylor. You need them to stay healthy. Okay? So we'll see. Once again, the take for you. Jonathan Taylor, 1,300 rushing yards, 1,500 yards from scrimmage with only 8 touchdowns because I think that Anthony Richardson's going to be that go-to guy on the goal line. If you've missed my other takes heading into the Colts season, I've got Anthony Richardson at a 3-to-1 touchdown to turnover ratio. Okay, that's also part of why I have Jonathan Taylor's touchdowns a little bit lower, right? If Anthony Richardson's going to score 38 touchdowns this year, someone's numbers have to go down. And I think that guy's going to be Jonathan Taylor because, once again, Anthony Richardson's going to be that guy down by the goal line. Yesterday, I said Michael Pittman Jr. will not lead the Colts in receiving yards. Got 2 more takes coming for you this week. And speaking of this week, it's only Wednesday, and I just can't stop thinking about Sunday.